everybody. Welcome to another fast-paced edition of Pit Stop. On this show, we take a look at the newest entry in the battle of the IndyCar horsepower, Toyota. We also recap some of the events from the Three Rivers, and later in the show, we'll talk karting with Darryl Hatzlhoffer right here in the studio. Toyota and Dan Gurney have shared great success in IMSA GTP racing in the past, and now the two have been able to put their IndyCar project to the test. In addition to developing the Toyota engine, Dan Gurney has pleased many with the return of the All-American Racers Eagle chassis. We spent some time with the Toyota team at the Toronto Most Indy, first with Pete Spence from the Toyota Racing Development, then with Dan Gurney. Well, Fangio's crew pushes him back into the pit stall just ahead of P.J. Jones. Some mechanical problems for Fangio. He quit on course and managed to coast almost back to the pits, but the crew nonetheless had to go back towards the pit entrance and gather him up and push him the rest of the way in. They'll take off the cowling and go to work. A lot of work involved with getting a new engine and a new chassis program together, and you can see that this is a moment here when they're trying to figure out what went wrong with this engine, and they're going to look into it right now and figure out what's going wrong. Meanwhile, Fangio sits and waits. Well, since Dan's obviously been developing this for a while, but since you've joined the program, what have you got?
We have the Toyota Phase 2.5 engine. It was designed as an integrated package with Dan Gurney's Eagle car for introduction into IndyCar racing in 1996. Was since adapted to fit the Reynolds customer car as well. You can see both the Eagle chassis and the Reynolds chassis here behind us with the Toyota Phase 2.5 engine in them.
Every time out you're learning something new, I'd imagine.
Our learning curve is very, very steep at the moment. As you know, Toyota has no direct IndyCar experience before, but has a long history of success in the IMSA GTP series. There is a lot of racing technology which will carry over from the IMSA GTP series into IndyCars, but fundamentally now IndyCars is probably one of the most, if not the most competitive series in the world. So evolution is very rapid.
And the competition amongst engines is pretty incredible. As far as this engine is concerned and all the components around it, is everything Toyota?
The electronics come from Nippon Denso. The engine itself is entirely designed, manufactured by Toyota.
Impressive piece of machinery. Is this part of the GTP program that's been developed into IndyCar?
No, this is actually a purpose-built IndyCar engine. It's a 2.65 litre V8 engine as specified in the IndyCar regulations, whereas the IMSA GTP engine is a modified four-cylinder, similar to the engine that went in the MR2 Toyota car.
Interesting information. How are you guys doing as far as the long-term goals technically?
Obviously, our long-term goal is to win as many races as possible. As I said, Toyota really doesn't have any direct IndyCar experience up to now, and is learning every time we run. Literally every time we run, we learn more new things. How to try and make the engine more economical to improve its performance. We have some reliability issues like everyone else. Engines of this type are stressed so highly that if you're not on the edge of having reliability problems all the time, then you're not trying hard enough.
Well, look how long it takes some of the other teams or some of the other engines to actually get, you just don't come in right away. You've got a lot to learn.
No, even the mighty Honda with all their Formula One experience, it took them nearly 3 years. Clearly that's who Toyota is being compared with, and we're very conscious of that comparison.
Now, I understand this weekend it's pretty much commonly known that there's an RPM increase. It was announced they were talking about it at the press conference. Is that something that is mandated by kart? They slowly build you up, or is that your own program?
No, that's our own development program. Again, in an evolutionary development program like this, of course you're trying to make as much horsepower as possible to have the most competitive engine, and in making horsepower you have to run the engine as fast as possible. But typically you just run up against the next mechanical barrier, the next reliability barrier, and fortunately between the last race and this race we have been able to cure one of those barriers and move a little further forward in our development.
What's it like being the new kid on the block?
Very, very difficult, very hard work, but very rewarding. It's a big challenge.
We wish Toyota and yourself all the best. Thanks very much, Pete.
Very much. Thank you.
And now here's Dan Gurney to talk about the Eagle chassis and the Toyota engine.
We really like having the Toyotas into the competition now. It's a real pleasure.
Well, it's great to be part of their spearhead, so to speak. You know, it's a great world-class company, and I'm sure they're going to end up doing very well. So we're very stoked about it ourselves.
Let's talk about your end of it with the Eagle chassis and getting that back out on the track.
Well, we're already thinking a little further down the road right now. We're working on a brand new one, which should come out early or late this year, not during the season, but after the season's over with. And we're just working on the development of this one. We have several things that we feel are not quite right about it that are virtually impossible to change. So we're trying to work around those things, and it's a real character builder for us.
In spite of the huge success that you had, it's really difficult to come back into this and be up to speed right away.
Well, it's difficult. It's not impossible. We didn't manage to do it, but we're not very surprised, really. It's a difficult thing to define the targets, you know, to really delineate exactly what it is in terms of downforce and drag and horsepower and weight distribution and all the other elements, and still comply with the rules. And we just got caught behind a little bit.
Now, why exactly did you take a break, a sabbatical from IndyCar racing, and what brought you back?
Well, the first part was an unforeseen problem with a partner of mine. So I'll let it stand as that. And then the reason we're back is because we put together such a very successful team in our IMSA GTP effort. We won the last 17 races that we entered, and we have all those same people. So a team like that deserves to continue, and that's what we're doing.
A good bunch of crew members you have, that's for sure. A lot of success with the Toyotas in GTP. Is that a series that you learned a lot of to develop an IndyCar, or are they two totally opposites?
No, many of the same things apply. Of course, they're all creatures of the rules, and in this case, the IndyCar rules are different than the GTP rules were, but still the data gathering expertise you need. That was our first all-carbon chassis and bodywork, and the first product of our wind tunnel and all of that sort of thing. So all that applies.
What's going to make Dan Gurney proud, obviously, to see this car up at the front, and it might happen very soon. We're going to wait and see, but what's going to make you proud?
Well, it's an unpredictable business, and we certainly look forward to working our way up. Ninth is our best finish so far this year, and we'll just we're looking for 8th next.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Dan.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks. We appreciate that.
Good luck to all American racers. Well, across Ontario on any given weekend, you're sure to find a go-kart race. Some of the best racing can be seen in Kitchener or perhaps in Sutton with the Simcoe Kart Club, or maybe you'll be at Goodwood for an event with the Toronto Kart Club. Of course, you can look no further than our own backyard in the Durham region and Family Kartways. I think you get the picture. Another series that brings together drivers from all the above clubs is the Ontario Kart Racing Association, a traveling series that has traveled to Shannonville Motorsport Park for the Canadian Grand Nationals August 9th to the 11th. Returning from a day of testing at Shannonville for the Nationals is Darryl Hatzlhoffer. He joins us here in the studio. Well, Darryl, welcome to the Pit Stop studio. Glad to have you here, and finally we get to talk about karting on this show. You've got the big race in Shannonville coming up, and we'll talk about that and your kart in a few moments. But first of all, I want to talk about you, and when did you start karting?
Well, I guess it was about 6 years ago. Well, that's when we started racing. I guess we started karting about 8 or 9 years ago, and we just drove by Family Kartways one day, saw the guys out there racing, and just had to go see what was happening, and just hooked ever since we saw them.
All right, so you started racing about 6 years ago, but don't lie about your age as a race car driver normally does. How old are you now?
I'm 18.
18. Oh, so you've been at this game for a few years now, and what do you think? Obviously you love it.
I do. I love it a lot. It's a lot of fun, and
just going out every weekend. How many weekends of the season are you out there racing? Do you get a weekend off?
Yeah, we do. We run a series that is 5 races long. And then you run a lot of specials. We run the Canadian Nationals like we are this weekend. We run a race or two in the States, and just basically that's the deal. We about 10, 12 maybe races a year usually.
What kind of racing do you experience in the States versus here in Canada? What's the difference?
Well, we don't really get to run a lot against the American racers because they don't run the Honda class that we do down there. But it's pretty big time down there. They go pretty flamboyant down there with all their stuff.
More so than here, though, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Like, sometimes you'll get people that have, like, the whole shop in their trailer, the big, huge 20, 25-foot trailers pulled by big, huge trucks and everything. And it's a sight to see.
What about the sponsorship? I think they've got a lot of sponsorship in karting in the States, yet you don't really see a lot of, for instance, the side of your kart, the side pod here, doesn't have a sponsor's name on it.
No, we don't. Yeah, down the States, I guess they do, but we've been struggling this year. We tried pretty hard to find a sponsor this year. We couldn't come up with one, but we haven't given up. We do have some sponsorship by the man who builds our motors, Bruce Fowler, and his company is called Power Racing, and he also sells this kart here, the Dino kart, and he helps us a lot.
So you started out as a junior, and now you moved into seniors. How many years in the seniors have you been running?
Well, this would be my 3rd full year in senior, and I guess I raced about 4 years in junior.
Now, in the seniors, though, you've got a lot of guys that have been racing karts for a while. Glenn Butler, Glenn Arnold. So when you moved from junior to senior, were you starting to get a little bit nervous about competing against these guys?
Actually, no, I wasn't. I just wanted my chance to run up against these guys because I knew I could. I know I can run with them, and I know I can beat them. And I was just looking forward to my chance to be able to run with them.
And that's a good attitude to have, obviously. If you come in already apprehensive, then they've already beat you.
Yeah.
That's the strategy, I suppose, to come in gung-ho all the way. In junior racing versus senior racing, is there any difference besides moving up the age, obviously?
Not really. It's basically the same kind of racing. With the series we run, there's a lot of really good racers. It's a special series, and so the people out there know really what they're doing, and it's really close and fun racing.
What kind of aspirations do you have beyond karting?
Oh boy, I'd love to run anything, actually. It's just
spoken like a true racer, I think, too.
Yeah, I'd run anything, actually. It's just the money that's really hard if you're going to move up and along the line there. That's what's tough.
Well, the one thing I noticed, we had Andrew Bourdin at the regionals last year, and he came up to me and he handed me one of his driver bios, and it had a lot of karting information on it. Is that the thing that you've got to do, is start to let people know in these corporations that you're out there?
Maybe, yeah, I think so. Like with sponsorship, you just can't give up. You got to just keep firing out your deal you want to as many people as basically you can think of, and just keep on going after it. Stuff like that.
The OKRA Grand Nationals coming up this weekend. A big event, obviously, on the OKRA calendar.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. There's always a good turnout, lots and lots of racers, and our class is always competitive, and I'm looking forward to a really tight, close race.
So you were in there today testing. Tell us how that went.
Started off, we had some problems, but we quickly fixed those, and we ended up being pretty much one of the fastest guys out there. We think we have a really, really good shot of winning the race on the weekend. Me and my brother also, he races as well, and he's really quick as well.
Over the course of the weekend, how many races will you run?
You'll run a lot of practice, and you'll run a qualifying, you'll run a heat, which will set you up for the final, and you'll run a final.
Is the qualifying just one kart by the time?
No, it's not. They have this, it's a really good transponder timing system, and what they'll do is they'll send all the karts out all at once, and they'll have a special transponder that attaches on the kart. Actually, That's the hole right there.
Right on your side pod.
Yeah, right where the hole. That's where the transponder will go in, and it is a very, very accurate system. It's basically the same system that they use in Formula One and stuff like that. And they'll send everyone out at once, and it's pretty much a crapshoot to see who can pull the fastest lap out there.
So do you go out there with that kind of a strategy that you've got to get the fastest lap? Do you hang back from the crowd? You know the kind of guys that you're up against, and you see, oh, great, I'm catching up to a bunch of slow guys. I'm going to back off here.
Well, really, basically, that's what you got to do. You got to, especially at a track like Shannonville, the draft makes a really, really big difference in lap times, and so you got to do a lot of that. You're really busy out there. You got to be thinking. You got to drop back from guys, try to get runs up on them down the straightaways, and you got to get out there and you got to draft with fast guys if you're gonna pull off a really quick lap.
I think everybody's pretty aware of the fact that when you're racing karts, you learn driving skills. But I guess you're also learning how to set up a car in one sense, because the theory is the same.
Yeah, the theory is really a lot of it's the same. What you try to get your kart to handle and to be balanced as best as possible, and it really makes a big difference. There's a lot of, when you look at it doesn't really look like there's a lot you can do, but there's a lot of things you can do to change the handling and the characteristics of the kart.
All right, so you just came back from a test day, so let's sort of go through the kind of things. Let's even take today as an example. How was the kart handling when you first went out, and what are the kind of changes you had to make to get it to run?
Well, when we first went out, the kart, it felt like it was bogging or tightening up through the corner, and what we needed to do was we needed to up the tire pressure. We were too low on tire pressures, and when we upped the tire pressure, the grip, because the tires are really, really sticky, and so when you up the tire pressure to a certain point, you'll run on top of the track, but you'll still get the grip. And the problem what we had is it was just too much stick for the conditions, and when we made the change, it really helped a lot. And things like moving the front tires in and out, small spacers, makes a big difference in the characteristics and the handling of the front.
These are your spacers in here, are they, that move the tire in and out?
Yeah, there's 3 different sizes, and if you pull it out to a certain point, if you pull it out, it'll make the steering a little touchier, and it'll grab better. And and on the rear end there, the hubs slide in and out. And
you can move the whole wheel in and out of the chassis.
Yeah, and if you pull it out, it'll make the kart a little looser. The rear end will start to slide around on you a little bit.
Right. Now, actually, I want to carry on a little bit more with that, but you touched on tire pressure. What kind of tire pressures would you run?
For a week like this week, it's really warm, so you wouldn't run too high on pressures, but we run 15 pounds of pressure. And I know it doesn't sound much because, like, in your car, you run, I don't know, 30, 35 pounds.
Yeah, exactly.
But, yeah, you run around 15 pounds of pressure and 15, 16, and it seems to work really well.
So if you come into the pits and you say that it's pushing, you're turning the wheel and it's not turning, or the back end is loose, is that where you go to the spacers and the hub in the back and move it in and out?
Yeah, you do. If you were pushing, you could pull the rear tires out.
Depending on which way it was on the left or right corner,
yeah,
right?
Well, basically you go out on both sides.
Uh-huh.
You'd go out to keep the kart balanced. If you start staggering on a street course or on a road course, you start to throw the balance off on the kart. So basically, you'd go out the same amount on both sides, and just like a fine adjustment of maybe an eighth, a quarter of an inch makes a really big difference in the handling itself.
I noticed you mentioned earlier, it was a floating disc brake, and maybe a lot of people aren't aware of the fact that these are a hydraulic system on these karts, and I certainly wasn't aware that they've got floating disc brakes now, so this is getting pretty high tech.
Yeah, it is. It's fantastic brakes on this kart. Very touchy, and it's pretty high tech, I guess, now.
Moving over to the power plant, what kind of an engine do you run, and what is available to you?
Oh, well, this is 163 cubic centimeters, It's called GX 160, and it runs in a class with other motors like the GX 160. There's the 140, and there's also the 160 K1, which is a little bit more powerful.
Now, as far as gearing for all the tracks, why don't you show us what you can do to get this thing running optimal for the track?
Well, okay, this is the rear sprocket here, and if you're, say, at Shannonville, the straightaways are pretty long, so you need to run a smaller gear on the rear, which will give you that straightaway speed. The smaller the gear on the rear, it'll give you a higher top end speed, but you'll start to lag a bit in the corners. So there's a really fine line to getting it perfect. You may end up making a lot of gear changes to find your fastest lap time around the racetrack.
On the front side, though, you've got a centrifugal clutch with a sprocket carrier hub that you can change as well.
Yeah, you can change the clutch as well. We didn't need to this weekend, but they come in a whole bunch of sizes as well, and we didn't need to.
All right, fair enough. Fuel pump, you obviously just run a basic type of fuel pump, but it doesn't seem to run off the engine itself, though.
Yeah, what we do is we raise it away from the engine block because cooler gas is better. It
Sure.
runs a lot quicker, so we try to keep it as far away from the block as possible to keep the fuel as cool as possible.
I also noticed that you've got what looks like a tach or something up here.
Yeah, it's a tachometer. Right, since the motor's not on, it's the tach readout's not on right now. It's just reading the how much time we had on those sessions on the motor.
Oh,
Which
okay.
was just over an hour. But it just reads out like your normal car tachometer.
When I was running 4-strokes, we didn't use this kind of stuff, but of course a lot of the 2-stroke guys did. Are you finding the use in a tach for a 4-stroke racing?
Yeah, we find it helps a great deal with finding your gear ratio at the back here, because there's a certain range in RPM that you like to run out there, and if you go too high, you'll lag on top end speed, but if you go too low, you may end up being too slow out of the corners. So the tach helps you find the right band of RPM that's needed for maximum power.
Pretty interesting stuff, and things have obviously evolved quite a bit since the day when I was involved with karting, floating discs and tach for 4-stroke, and we mentioned that 4-stroke and 2-stroke as well. Just to touch on that for a moment, what is the difference?
The 2-cycle run, they're a quicker kart. We like the 4-cycle racing because it's really competitive, it's really close. The 2-cycle is getting closer. If you out of the country, in Quebec, it's really good. The 2-cycle racing is really good, as well as in the States. It's really competitive.
You're absolutely right. For competitive racing, you can't beat what you're doing, the 4-stroke racing.
Yeah. You'll get, like this weekend, you'll get about 10, 15 karts within 2-3 tenths of a second of each other. And if you're off half second, 4 or 5 tenths, you'll miss the train. You won't have a chance.
You'll be coming home with a 10th or 15th place finish.
Oh, at least.
Darryl, all the best to you this weekend and to your brother at Shannonville. Hope it all goes well for you, and don't come home with a 10th or 15th, okay?
All right, thanks very much.
Thanks. If you're interested in knowing more about kart racing, you can call Roy Bryden at the ASN Canada FIA office at 905-479-4000. Karting is fairly inexpensive and a lot of fun. You can get a kart like Darryl's for around $3,000. The trip to Three Rivers for Ron Fellows turned into one for smiles. Congratulations defending champ Ron Fellows for winning this year's Trans Am race by more than 6 seconds over points leader Dorsey Schrader. Ron is 5th in points, now looking to add to the win column. The Trans Am cars move on to Watkins Glen August 10th, a race Ron has won the past 2 seasons. Indy Lights made their inaugural run at the Three Rivers event, their first event outside of an IndyCar weekend, and it was a trip that was, full of frustration for the players' team during qualifying. David Empringham was 11th on the grid, while Bourbonnais and Gurney sat 9th and 10th respectively. Come race time, Empringham forged ahead to finish 4th with teammates Bertrand Godin 5th. Claude Bourbonnais was out on the 3rd lap with brake failure. David's 4th place finish gives him a 21-point lead over Galter Salas from the Brian Stewart Racing prepared car. They are just 3 races left in the series. Players Limited Formula Atlantic ran 2 races at Three Rivers with Patrick Carpaccio running supreme in both. Meanwhile, Lee Bentham had another one of those trying weekends. A clutch problem left Lee sitting in his 3rd starting spot as the field flew past him on the start of the Saturday's race. From well down in the pack, Lee managed to drive to a 3rd place finish in a display of all-out talent. In Sunday's race, it was Bentham's P1 Racing teammate Alex Tagliani finishing 3rd, scoring his first podium finish behind Carpaccio, and 2nd place, Paul Jasper. Going into Mid-Ohio, August 11th, Carpaccio leads with 151 points. Paul Jasper is 2nd with 97 points, and Lee is 3rd with 96. The Sony Enduro Series had a doubleheader at Three Rivers. Saturday's action had Benoit Teague winning Grand Sport in his Mazda RX-7. Jocelyn Hebert clinched Sports Class. Meanwhile, in the Touring Honors, they went to Jeff Lorman. And in the Sunday race, Benoit Teague and Jocelyn Hebert became double winners, and then Anthony Polito won the Touring Class, driving his Nissan NX2000. Oshawa's Promotive Racing, well, the trip to Three Rivers ended up with a 13th place finish for Lou McKenzie on Saturday and a 7th for David Thorndike on Sunday. Also, and last but not least, the Dunlop Unipna Series ran at Three Rivers. Jean-François Lissé took the win in his Van Diemen, followed by Martin Guimont and Jean-François Vailleux. Can-Am Midgets were at Sauble Beach August 3rd and 4th for a doubleheader. The feature was fogged out, Saturday, so they ran 2 features Sunday, and Jim Johnson and Jeff Riberty were the winners. Mark Samet still had the points lead with 21.79, followed by Keith Dempster and Jimmy Johnston. Next race is August 14th at Lancaster. You better go early. They've been selling out with the midgets. That's it. That's all we've got time for. We'll see you next week on the fastest half hour on Rogers Community 10.